we're in a traumatic period, or we're going through something traumatic, we tense, we lock right up, and we're locked up pretty much the entire time it's happening, and sometimes for a good duration afterwards, because we haven't let go of the reaction. And so it's just like a muscle just nodding and nodding and nodding and nodding. And over time, because you don't want to deal with the trauma, you don't want to deal with what the trauma caused. And so you kind of learn to just accept that as your lot in life. It becomes part of your narrative, just like the trauma did. And so it's so interesting that the symbolism of working out those knots, or even being willing to admit that maybe you can change your lot, that maybe you can heal, still comes down to questioning whether or not you can see your trauma a different way. It's the exact same thing, right? And so I found a lot of my RMT friends found themselves being life coaches, found themselves being kind of like part-time counselors, whether they were, qualified or not. And they would ask me, like, what do I do with that? I would always say, just relate, just be human. Like, we're all going through this. You don't need to be a qualified therapist to go, yeah, that sucks. That's all you need to do, right? And just learn to breathe through it as we're working together. So I think in some ways, being an RMT for a certain type of client, let's say, is better than being a therapist, because sometimes you'll go to therapy and they will just keep you running in cerebral circles, looking for that answer, looking for that past trauma, looking for that memory, where it's buried in your body, right? Your mind doesn't want to go there. You've developed mechanisms to avoid it for years, but man, you hit that spot in your body, your brain goes, oh, I remember this came from, and now you're right back into it. So I find that to be such an interesting process. Do you find yourself having to be almost like that dual healer role in some cases, where somebody does have that emotional release and you find that the journey that you've been on yourself gives you the ability to empathize with that a little bit better?
Yes, absolutely.